I want to talk about Michael Chandler versus Charles
okay.
Oliveira. And the reason I want to bring this up, you said, and this is what caught me off guard, because this was the first fight that I ever covered. One of the first fights, the Michael Chandler, was it Hooper?
Dan Hooker.
Hooker, sorry. Fucking idiot I am. Yeah, John Hooper. Yeah, it's Michael Chandler.
Got a H and two O's.
That's right.
Halfway there.
That was before that was right around the Kuzman fight. So the Chandler, you said this is a title fight.
Yeah, that's correct. So this week, breaking news: Khabib has announced he's given up the belt. He's retiring. So that's official. The lightweight belt is now therefore up for grabs at 155 pounds. There was some debate that Poirier and McGregor were going to have a rematch for the title fight, but instead, Dana's announced that Charles Oliveira, who is going to be taking on Michael Chandler for that is going to be a title fight for the vacant belt, which I am really surprised by. Like, look, let me state by saying those two are absolutely capable of being world champions. Well, they're going to be, but I mean, whoever you could argue should be in a position to fight for a title, those two guys could be. Like, I believe that from what I've seen. But what we can't help but look at the evidence behind it. Michael Chandler came from Bellator, where he wasn't the champion. He was a previous champion, but wasn't a standing champion. Came over to UFC, fought Dan Hooker, who's a very respectful, tough guy in that division. He can hold his own. But he beat him convincingly.
You owned him.
But you would think that would set him up for a fight, perhaps for a Dustin Poirier or for a Conor or for a Justin Gaethje, who just fought for the belt. And Charles Oliveira has looked phenomenal. Like, he's actually probably the person to challenge Khabib because of his jiu-jitsu background. Now, Charles Oliveira beat Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson and Khabib, they were trying to fight each other. I think they had 5 fights scheduled and all fell through. Tony Ferguson was undefeated for something like 9 years, and he was destroying everyone he fought. He lost to Justin Gaethje. Justin looked phenomenal, but Charles Oliveira wiped the floor with Tony Ferguson, and Tony is one of the hardest human beings alive. So look, let me put this in perspective. Tony was coming off a lot. He was coming down. He lost to Justin Gaethje, then fought Charles Oliveira and lost again. So he was on a slide. So to put him in, Charles Oliveira, directly for a title fight, just like so let me summarize this in one sentence. I think, Sean, that Chandler and Oliveira, two amazing talents, should be fighting to set the winner of that is going to be fighting for the title. In my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for the title right now.
I agree. I struggle with the whole idea of Chandler. Not that Chandler doesn't deserve a big fight. He doesn't deserve to win the title after. I mean, it's difficult to say if he beat someone like Oliveira. When I looked at the all of the fighters sort of in line, I thought Gaethje looked like the strongest on paper, as far as a title contender next to Dustin Poirier, who I believe Poirier beat. Did he beat? Wasn't Chandler? Did he beat Chandler at one point?
No, they haven't fought because Chandler was in a different.
He beat Oliveira, hasn't he?
No, so I don't know if they fought. He beat Justin Gaethje. So currently, the 1 and 2 now, Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje have fought each other, and Poirier won. He knocked him out. So you could say they've already fought. That's already a done piece. However, that was a few years ago, and I would love to see that again.
I think for Chandler, I'd like to see him either fight Oliveira, Ferguson, or McGregor. To really, because I think for me, if he gets absolutely smashed in this fight, and there's a possibility he could very much be outclassed. He won't necessarily be, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Oliveira overwhelms him, and this fight's over, in a submission in a round. If that happens, that makes this fight a bit of a joke. In some ways, he hasn't earned his right for that fight, and if he loses with ease, what was the whole point of this exercise? Was this really a title fight at the end of the day?
So my thoughts on why is this a title fight? This is the uneducated Hugh, not listen to anyone's thoughts on this. This is just coming from the heart. Like, this is a money play. The UFC undoubtedly, statistically, have more money on their pay-per-view buys, more eyes watching when there's a title fight. Now Khabib has hung up the belt. there's a vacant title. So we need a title as soon as possible. Which is the next biggest fight? Oh, it's these two. Let's make it a title fight. Let's get it done. When money has overwritten the sports side of things on this. Entertainment has surpassed, what really the true sport fans should follow. So it's unfortunately they do this at times. That's my view on it, really.
So it's confusing to everybody, it sounds like, because why would it be a money play though? Because surely they can still. Is it because they're fighting for championship money, for belt money? Is that what you're?
All of the above. There's a belt at the end of it, so it's like it means everything. So we're going to have a brand new champion, and because there's that extra thing on the line, Sean. There's that extra, there's stakes here. Like someone is going to be a world champion for the first time. Chandler is going to be a organization champion. Or Charles Oliveira will be for the first time a champion, and he looks amazing. So it's there's a little bit more intrigue about who's going to win, and who people. The vast majority of fans were going to watch this anyway because it's going to be a cracking fight no matter what. And I love that the fact they're fighting. It's just the question mark over the title. So for me, that question mark is not a mystery. It's filled because of money, and there's going to be more eyeballs on it because there's a belt up for grabs.
Yeah.
Can I just speculate slightly? I also going to speculate that there may, so I could be talking arse, but there may be some pressure to have a certain number of title fights as well because of what I've just explained.
Right. Okay.
By an organization of ESPN.
So because this division hasn't had a title, because Khabib has, I don't know if you would class it as holding up the division, because this division has been fairly static as far as the champion's concerned.
You want to get it going?
Yeah, because for me, my preference would be, and this would be my natural inclination to see the top four, as we said, what would happen in the middleweight division, not the middleweight division, the
welter.
Well, no, sorry, in the welter, that they just fight out for it. That you have the who's going to be So the top four, you have Chandler taking on Oliveira, fine. Gaethje takes on Poirier, fine. The winner of those two will fight for the belt. That to me seems like the most logical way to do it.
They've done that before as well. They've had these kind of like title contender fights, and I think from a sporting perspective, it makes sense. But I think they're just looking at it from a money perspective and wanting to fill that belt as soon as possible. I think it's more of a timing thing. But look, is it the end of the world? Not really, because one of these two guys, the winner of these two, would be next in line for a title fight anyway. So it's not the end of the world, because let's say Poirier, who's number one contender, he's got to be fighting for the title next. Whether that's a rematch for Conor or whether that's with Gaethje, I think they're probably the main two at the moment. And then the winner of that would then take on the winner of this. So it's not like Dustin could have had first crack at it, arguably, if Dustin versus Gaethje, for example, gets put ahead. But if he backs himself to win the title to have beaten Gaethje, he'll be given a title shot next anyway. So it's it's not the end of the world. It's just it's a slippery slope, really, Sean, isn't it?
It's a slippery slope. To those of you who haven't tuned in, we got to remember, people weren't there for the slippery slope argument.
I know. Yeah, that was for you. That was just for you.
Yeah, that was for me. So just so everybody knows, slippery slope arguments are full of shit, and Hugh uses them all the time. So who I'm going to be guessing on this one because I don't have as much film to watch on Chandler. My expectation is Oliveira. Fucking names in the UFC.
Oliveira is how people
Oliveira.
say it.
I think he's winning this fight. I think he's winning by submission. I'm just going to chuck out a number in the third round.
I think I'm going to go Oliveira as well. He just looks so good.
He was impressive when I watched him.
He does look phenomenal. And Chandler's a wrestler, so there is the chance that Chandler's explosive on his feet and he can knock him out for sure. Charles Oliveira is very erratic on his feet because he can afford to be, because when it goes down to the ground, he's going to take over. So if it goes to the ground, which Chandler would probably like in a lot of other fights, it won't play into Chandler's hands because Oliveira's technique is going to overwhelm him. So I'm with you on this one, Sean. Yeah,
I got a sense that he's almost going to want to. Chandler's quite, from what I've seen, is a very aggressive fighter. And I think that is going to sort of fall into a trap that Oliveira is going to want to set. He's the few fights I saw is how he turns things around on the ground so quickly. It's, you can think you have him with I saw his submission of Ferguson. And by the way, credit to Ferguson for having somebody breaking his arm and not tapping out.
He's made of steel.
I was looking away. Because he was in a position where Ferguson could not get out. He was in. It was just tap out. And the referee had to stop the thing because he was going to break his arm.
No. So he didn't tap out. That was the end of the round.
I know.
So
was that
he
what
beat
happened?
he beat him on decision. Yeah, it's the end of the round. So he didn't tap out. Tony Ferguson is a savage, mate. He's built of something else.
Getting the cheap YouTube free. Sorry, UFC. I got totally burned by the free follow up from YouTube. But still, I mean, he wasn't going to tap out.
No, he would have broke his arm. He would have broke his arm over getting tapped out.
But it was that takedown. I think at that point, the way watching him work and get into position, and it just I remember thinking. Of a lot of the fighters I've seen, he is so awkward, but not because he's awkward, because he's just so difficult to read. And so the skill is there. It's like, when you and I, you started grappling. Was it jiu-jitsu? No, not jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu.
And you introduced me to submission hold. So we were, we had our shirts off, a little red wine.
Bit of oil, usual Friday night.
But we were just sort of wrestling, and because I have no training whatsoever. I'm just a big lump. And it reminded me of this, the stuff you were doing, I wasn't prepared for, to get me into a hold. And I had a sore throat for like 3 days after you put me into it. I genuinely did, because it scared the shit. I'm like, fuck.
I know. Yeah.
Couldn't tap fast enough. And I was reminded of that with Oliveira, because how he went from the position he was in to getting, the arm, is it an arm bar, or I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah, that's right.
To get that arm bar was just like, fuck, that happened quick. And it wasn't like just, some nobody. It was a tough, strong, smart fighter that he was able to do that to. So the reason, and I think that's why I'm more confident about Oliveira than I am about Ngannou, because of that experience level and that lack of in the division with Chandler. So we'll see if that propagates itself.
I just want to give Chandler, I've got to go with the caveat that Chandler is very, we saw firsthand how dangerous he could be on his feet as well. And Charles Oliveira's got his work cut out on his feet. Charles Oliveira is very erratic. He's got a lot of skills, his kicks, and he's awkward on his feet. So they're going to cause issues for each other. But make no mistake, if this goes to the ground, Chandler's it has issues. On its feet, Chandler has every chance to knock him out and finish it. I'm going to lean on Oliveira, but that's what I love about fighting. This could easily go both ways. So I'll be tuning in for sure, and it should make for a cracking fight.
So
I think we're going to. I'm going to finish. I think it will be a great fight as well. I think this is going to be one of the two guys that are not going to back down. They're going to go for it.
Did I say second or third round?
Ngannou's second, you said.
I said second, but what did I say about Oliveira? I said Oliveira. I thought I said third for Oliveira. Third round tap out. I don't know. Was that a technical? Not a technical knockout. That's what would you call that in the UFC world? If it's not a knockout, submission. Thank you. I was blanking on that. Because you haven't really. Because part of this, we're betting against each other in many ways. You get points for choosing the round, and you haven't chosen the round in this one.
So. In Stipe, it's going to be a Stipe victory by decision. That's going to go the distance. I don't think he's going to finish Ngannou. Okay. And for this fight, I am going to state Oliveira by decision.
So are we? Okay. So I'm saying third round.
I'm going to say
submission,
5 rounds for
5 round submission. And if you feel, and that's
5 round decision.
Decision, and I'm saying submission third round.